Hi, it's great to be here actually. Um, and I was telling my team I always like to be on time. So I literally got here 2 hours ago. Just because I don't know, something in my blood just cannot deal with being late. So I have to account for everything. My name is Freda. I run a company called Kaeme. Kaeme means remember me. We essentially use really great local products, local ingredients to build great products from Ghana that are globally competitive, that are not only good for sitting on the ethnic shelf, but really sit globally competitive with all other high-end brands across the world. So I'm really excited to be here today because I'm looking forward to discussing sort of like how to go from idea to implementation to actually getting it done, right? Not the Instagram version though. So anyway, that's a bit about me, but I'm really looking forward to engaging and just answering any questions at all. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Okay, so let's start from idea. Where did the idea for Kaime come from? What inspired it? And what made it worth pursuing?
Wow. Are you ready? Okay. Um, I am one of five kids. I'm also the youngest, and I'm the only girl. And I've had the honor of actually traveling the world. And everywhere I went, I felt like I saw shea butter, but there was no credit given to Ghana or even Africa because it's not just Ghana that has the shea butter. We have Benin, Cote d'Ivoire, Nigeria. There are quite a few countries, and then I think along the East African belt, there are a few as well. So coming back home, I thought to myself, what's what's a way to give back to Ghana? And being around the world, I had also kind of heard and learned and experienced a lot of bad narrative about the continent, about Ghana. It's like good for nothing. It's always bad stories in the news. And I've always advocated for really be, if something is wrong, fix it, right? Don't complain. So coming back home, I asked myself, what's one thing that I'm going to do to make sure that to change the bad narrative about Ghana and Africa, but also to show people that Ghanaians, Africans can do things that are globally competitive in quality, authenticity. Like we're just as good. I know so many people in countries that I've been to that I've worked that I can pinpoint that are Ghanaians, that are Africans, that are doing amazing things. So why are we not talking about them? Why doesn't the world know about them? So for me, it was a personal thing to really use local ingredients to create something by a Ghanaian that sits on the same shelves as globally competitive brands. So so that's sort of how the idea started. So of course, I I hadn't gone to cosmetics school. I knew nothing about cosmetics. I mean, I wanted to be the next Kofi Annan, right? I'm a big public policy person. I wanted to solve problems among countries. So ideally, my real job would be an ambassador, UN ambassador to some country, or I'll be fixing, war-torn countries. I'll be negotiating deals between countries, So that's what I do. Um, I love different countries. I love different languages, and I just love interacting people with people and just solving people's problems. So really, cosmetics, not really. But I came back home and I went to a friend's wedding and I made some samples for her wedding. For those from Ghana, some of you are also maybe from other countries. You do souvenirs for weddings and birthdays and all that stuff. So I did that, and my God, people started coming back. They wanted more. So my friend was actually on her honeymoon, and she was like, "Oh my gosh, Frida, people want more of the stuff you made." And so she asked for how much. I'm like, "Oh no, I didn't really. It's not for sale." Okay, can you make me like 10? So I made 10 for her. Then she gave it to them. Then came back. She wants 50 more. And she's like, "But you need to charge for this because people want it." So people literally started getting the product. So I'll just charge them for the cost of the ingredient. I wasn't charging for labor because at the time I was also doing very well. I was working, getting really good money. Like I was good. So shea butter, whatever. So I just did it for them. And my friend came back from honeymoon and she's like, "Listen, you gotta make this into a business. If not, you're going to be my worker. You're going to work for me because this thing is hot. So that's when I actually sat, and we'll talk more about this, as we go on. But that's when I really sat to think through sort of what my next steps are and what the first thing is that I'm going to do. But yeah, that's sort of how this whole thing started. Yeah.
Interesting. This round of applause, please. This is not your typical problem. Like, oh, I saw this problem and I'm creating a solution for it. This was a narrative problem, right? Like a national narrative problem or a continental one, even. So yes, good stuff. How did you? What are the very first steps you took from when you had the idea to even your first mini gig of creating those souvenirs for the wedding? What were the very first like steps to execution?
So I would say, I did the souvenirs out of, I love mixing stuff, right? So one of the things I also forgot to say is at some point in my life, people will stop me on trains and be like, my gosh, your hair smells so good or your skin is so nice. What do you put on it? Like, do you use like Dior or like they'll name some high-end brand? And I'm like, I have no idea who they are. Because remember, I'm also the last born. I'm one of five kids and I'm the only girl. So I grew up a tomboy. So I'm not really, I think up until I was 18, I was still wearing my brother's clothes. So I'm not the person that you find at a beauty store, like getting all those eyelashes. I still struggle with them. But anyway, so that that mixing stuff, I I did it for the friend. Now, the moment I decided to actually do this, that's when I sat and kind of thought through the process. So talking about fixing a problem. So I love this. I see bad narrative about the continent, about Ghana. I want to fix it. But also truly, let's be real. Ghana has a lot of shea butter producers. Everyone and their mother makes shea butter. I mean, raise your hands if you know five shea butter like producers or sellers really in Ghana. And they're all good because it's shea butter. But I asked myself, what's going to make mine so different? What's the problem that I'm going to try to solve other than trying to kind of retell our story? And so at the time, I thought to myself, my gosh, we all know shea butter is good, right? We all use it because we know it's good. But it's just hard to smear on the skin. It's quite hard. And for those of us who are like, yeah, I'm the gang ho health freak, I'm still gonna smear it until I get a bruise, whatever. We're like, I'm a corporate person, or those of you, nobody wants to go to class smelling funny, right? I mean, I didn't. So the idea was to make the shea butter easy to smear on, and also to make it smell good, because we already know it's good for us, right? But we know that the pain points that consumers have with shea butter that they know is good for them is that it's hard to smear and then it smells a bit funny. So the first thought that came to mind was like, okay, I'm gonna make this smell good and I'm gonna make it smear really smoothly on your skin without taking away any of the original benefits, because that's what we've come to know shea butter for. So those were the two, in addition to kind of trying to change the narrative about Africa and Ghana. I hope I answered the question.
Yeah, you've added to the problems that you were trying to solve, and you've talked about the steps. I think we're still in ideation. You thought, okay, let's make it smell better, let's make it smear better as well. But in terms of executing that, what were the very first steps you took?
The first step that I took, I think I'm too excited to talk to you guys. I feel like I could sleep here today. But the first step, funny enough, I actually hired a brand strategist. And I hired a brand strategist because I asked myself, okay, I have this idea. I want to do this. I want it to be globally competitive. I've seen high end brands in France, Switzerland, Caribbean. I've been there, done that, right? So if I want to tell a good narrative about this, it's what people see on the shelves first before trying the product. And I knew that the product is good, so good that when you try it, you're going to love it. But now, how do I get people to actually consider trying it or even picking it up on the shelf? So you go to a store and they're like plenty of shea butter or cosmetic products. What's going to attract you to actually pick my product, right? So that's why I hired a brand strategist first, because for me, that was my pain point. As in a founder at the time, I'm not I'm not good at branding. That's not my thing, and I know that. So that's the first thing I did. I hired a brand strategist, and up to now, people when I tell people like I hired brand strategist, and at the time he was quite expensive because I had no money and I didn't even know if this company was actually gonna work. But funny enough, this branding company has been with me. We turned 10 years last year, and we still have the same brand strategist. So that was the
Amazing.
first thing I did. But I did that because that was what was important to me in order to start my business. That was a pain point for me because I wanted first, it was more about, what people saw, branding, what's going to make them pick my product. And that's why branding was big for me. So I picked a first step as a result of my pain point. I hope that makes sense.
It does make
Yeah.
a lot of sense. You've spoken about resources a bit. You said you had no money, and you hired someone. Beyond that brand strategist that you hired, what was the one resource that made a difference from when you had the idea to when you started executing?
A resource that made a difference
Could
beyond
be
the
a
brand strategist.
mentor, a coach,
Oh gosh,
money.
the mentors don't even. You need them. I'm sorry. Like if you need to go beg them, hold their two legs, please. I mean, I'm still here, and I still have multiple mentors. And yeah, I for me, mentors is a non-negotiable. Actually, it's a non-negotiable. I have a mentor for my personal life. I have a mentor for my professional life. I have a mentor to help me with raising my kids. I know. I never thought I could actually raise kids, but whatever. But you do need a mentor. You need someone who's been there, done that, or at the very least, someone who can connect you to someone who can help you get to your next step. And your mentor might not have all the answers, but they may be able to kind of maybe bounce ideas or maybe connect you to someone who may be able to help you. That is a non-negotiable. I mean, that's a non-negotiable. I wasn't even going to talk about it because everybody should have one, whether you're an entrepreneur or not. But mentors have been invaluable in my life. I still have them. They're all over the world, and we can talk about that later. But it's a non-negotiable.
And I guess you're giving back by being a mentor yourself.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love mentoring, and gosh, there's so much to talk about. Maybe I should just go to your classes with you. Um, mentoring is it's one of the things I do because I give back my whole life. I've been given in so many different ways. So that's how I give back. But I'm also very calculated about it because I try to take just enough to make sure that my mentoring is useful, that I'm not wasting too much time, or I'm not stretching myself too much. I pick a few people, I mentor them, we get to a certain stage, I graduate them. They in turn have to mentor other people, and then I take on new people. But yeah, giving back. And
Yeah.
that mentoring happens in so many different ways. I mentor professionals, I mentor mid career women, I mentor the women that we work with to make our black soap. I mentor my colleagues, my employees. It's the different ways to do that. So, yeah.
Awesome. Anybody interested in being mentored? Okay, there you go. They'll be in touch. Um, this all sounds really, really good, but let's get into the challenges. What were some of the challenges you faced when you started this business, Kaime? What was the one hardest moment, if you can pick one?
There are a lot. My gosh. You know, I I had a really good life. I mean, I still do. I was fortunate. I'm not from a rich family. I'm actually from the village. But some way, somehow, I made it somewhere, thanks to God and hard work. Um, but I'm from a place where there's no money. But at a young age, I made it quite high. So even being back in Ghana, I had a really good job. I had things working out for me. So for me, the idea of actually switching to entrepreneurship, that alone is kind of crazy. My mom was like, "What? You're you're going to sell shea butter?" She was just confused, really completely confused. My dad wouldn't even talk to me because I had already switched from pre-med to international relations in college without telling them. So he already stopped talking to me. And then now I'm going to do shea butter. Something must definitely be wrong with me. So for me, that was a challenge. And everyone around me was like, no, eh, no. The system is too saturated. You're moving to Ghana. Ghana is so difficult. Someone with your kind of traits won't even survive. So already, friends and family had already kind of uh, that I'm gonna fail, right? So that was one thing. I had money, but I hadn't run a business before. I just thought this is a cool idea. I wanted to do good to Ghana. I wanted to create beautiful products. So the experience wasn't there in terms of experience in manufacturing, cosmetic science, and all of that. But also the support. I mean, there weren't really, normally when I start these things, I look for support networks. So aside from mentors, I'm also looking for groups like cosmetic groups, like artisan groups, like go for networking. I know this is me, my Obroni mind. Nonsense. Like none of that here. So at first it just felt almost impossible because it's like, where do you start? You have great idea. And then when you start talking to people, they look at you like you have 10 heads because it's like, don't you see all the shea butter companies around? And you're looking for an artisan group. Okay, good luck. So there were so many reasons why blocking me, why I can't, shouldn't do this, right? Um, I wouldn't say money per se, because I had money saved that I wanted to bet on, right? It wasn't a lot of money, but I did have some money. And honestly, I had my 2 bedroom that I had at the time that I started producing from. So that's another story we can talk about. So there weren't necessarily challenges, but I think maybe I'm also a bit ahead of myself, probably because of my corporate background. But I started thinking of stuff like, oh, I didn't have cosmetic science background, but I need certifications to do this, to sell this. You need so I had already, I think I started scaring myself by actually thinking about all these hurdles that existed, but I was like 20 steps ahead of myself because I was so quality minded. So there were a lot of systematic challenges all over. My ecosystem at the time wasn't really supportive. But also I asked myself, well, I don't have that background. But also, my gosh, I need certification to even create products that people put on their skin. Because what if people get allergies? What are you going to do? Did I do a microbiology test? But maybe I was being too scientific at the time. Yeah. Anyway, I can talk a lot. So I'll just
No, it's
pause.
okay. We're listening. We're listening. How did you manage some of these challenges? Right, you just talked about not being a specialist in the field. How did you navigate that? Did you hire someone to then do the testing and stuff? And I'm particularly interested in the lack of groups and community and cooperatives in the space. You've been at it for a while, for decades. Um, has that changed? Have you done anything about it?
Gosh, if I forget any of the questions, just remind me.
I will.
But let me start with, so I'm also a big fan of like brighten the corner where you are, um, bloom where you're planted kind of thing. So when I want to do something and it doesn't exist, I just start it because somebody has to start it, right? So for me, so that's one thing. So I started at the time. There were a few people that I knew. I started talking to who were doing shea butter, and I didn't go in as an expert. I went in as like, oh guys, Ghana has a huge shea butter ecosystem here, and people are coming in, buying and going out. We don't even have a community here to kind of you know, take advantage of it. Because so I went in as like, let's come together as a group so that we can influence policy around shea butter import and export, or even how shea butter is used, right? That's another thing. But I went in that way because my mind is policy and that's what I know. So I went in through what I knew. So there are quite a few shea butter associations, with the Global Shea Alliance being probably one of the biggest and the most global. So that's one of the things I did. I create things if I feel there's a need, because somebody has to start. It doesn't mean that it's going to be successful, but I feel better that at least I started something. So that's one. Two, you asked another question.
The scientific stuff.
The scientific stuff. Listen, if you forget everything I tell you here today, okay, you don't have to be an expert to start. Okay, just do it. You all have heard, like, you've seen that Nike logo. Just do it. Just do it. Just really just do it. Okay. I didn't have cosmetic science. I started doing my research. I started learning from people who were already doing it. I started finding out about their pain points. And then as I started, like, so this whole time I was also working with my branding person, right? To get the branding, what the brand would mean, like all of that. It was like almost a whole nine-month process. While I was doing that, I started also creating the products the way I knew it. One of the things I omitted when I first started is I told you that I've traveled quite a bit, and people will be like, "Oh, what do you use for your skin?" So pause here, right? You will remind me, okay? Because I'll forget. Pause here, keep that thought, right? Being one of five kids, being the only girl, being a tomboy almost my whole life, I literally traveled with, like, those of you who are Ghanaians, the paint rubber, the blue one. Uh-huh. So every suitcase, every time I travel, my suitcase had two of those, black soap and shea butter. Because my dad kind of took care of us because my mom was the one working. I kind of have a weird family style, right? My dad actually took care of us while my mom was working and providing for the family. And of course, that just gave me shea butter and black soap. So I kept mixing it every country I went to. I kept mixing it. So when people asked me, like, why is your skin so nice? I'm like, shea butter. And sometimes I'll take, once I was in Paris, once I was in Guatemala, and I took people home with me to actually scoop some of the shea butter for them because they didn't believe me. I was like, no, literally, this is what I use. Now, I had used this for so long that over time I started mixing it. Actually, I'll buy some oils from Amazon. I'll get some herbs. I will infuse some oils, doing all sorts of crazy naturalist stuff. And when it was my friend's birthday or special anniversary, I'll create something. So I'm like, oh, this is Yao. Yao is very adventurous. So I'm like, being that adventurous, what scent do I think will actually match with your personality for your birthday? So I will create something for you. I'm like, this is Abna here. Abna is very reserved, super conservative, nothing crazy, nothing scented, maybe something very subtle and very classy, right? So I'll create something for her for her birthday. So that's what led me to actually creating the souvenirs for the friend's wedding, right? So I'm saying this because as much as I didn't have cosmetic science background, I had done a few things. I had been experimenting with myself, with my family, with friends who actually loved it. So at some point, my friends remind me that, hey, my birthday is in 3 months, you know what to do, kind of thing. So as I was doing my branding in tandem, I was creating these products, right? Without cosmetic science background, but I knew at the time what worked for me. And what worked for me was what I had created for the friend's wedding that made people come back. So clearly, it's viable, it's working. It wasn't perfect, but it was working. So that's, yeah, that was, so I mean, now I have more certifications, there are more accolades and whatnot. I'm a thought leader in the industry, but you have to start from somewhere. Yeah. So yeah, I hope I answered the question.
You did. You did. Thanks so much. Was there anything in particular that you underestimated in the beginning that you wish you hadn't?
Lord Jesus, that is systems. And I say systems, it's like a whole kind of worms, right? sometimes we get so excited and so passionate. We want to do these things and we forget about the systems part. Listen, you grow too quickly without systems, you're going to just fall flat. You need those systems. And those systems, it's boring to build systems. It's not the exciting, like founder moments, like I'm on CNN. But those are the things that keep your brand moving. That's what keep your business, that make your business a business, right? And for me, that's yeah, if you're gonna start a business, that's one of the things you should really, really think about. Put systems together. Um, in cosmetics, okay, how do I make this product? What quantity? Because when I'm not around, is someone able to make it? Somebody should be able to make it, right? Are they putting batch numbers? What batch numbers are they putting on? Or even just plain like, you know, when I hired the brand strategist, that was my first hire ever. When I actually started the business and started like I registered the business, started selling to public to people I did not know. One of the hard decisions I made was also to hire an accountant. Because, girl, I cannot do two plus two. And I knew that. At some point, you just have to be real with yourself, right? I'm not an accountant. I can do it. If I want to, I will learn it because I believe anyone can learn anything. But I just realized that was not my thing. So I paid someone to do it. So you have to put systems together. You have to put systems in place. It has to be written. Of course, not on your first day. Now I have SOPs. I have, what I call a playbook, a Kaeme playbook. There are all sorts of documentations that I have, which allows me to sit here and still have the business run, right? But yeah,
You answered my next question before I asked it. I was gonna ask about systems, but yeah, that's very, very good to know. It's so important to document everything. And I love that you emphasize that you're sitting here having a good time with Ashesi students, but your business is still running. Um this is a big one for me. How do you stay disciplined, especially, or how did you stay disciplined when you started? Because it's so easy to, especially for someone like you who was comfortable, I would say, just give up at some point because this is just too hard. How did you stay disciplined through it?
fact is every now and then I still ask myself, why am I even doing this? That's a fact. It will never go away. But what keeps me motivated, honestly, for me, most of the time I'm not running my social media, somebody else is running it. But I do have access to it. And I have access to emails. Like every time I think of quitting or not do it, I get that email from that customer and they say amazing things and I'm like, dang, what am I gonna tell this person if I close down this business or if I stop making this product or if I screw up on this business? I think for me, my customers, honestly, our clients are huge, and we have so many of them, and so many of them have become like almost friends and family. It's kind of crazy, and so the feedback on our products, on our service, for me keeps me grounded. That's one. But also, one of the things that keeps me grounded, keeps me motivated, is going back to my why, right? Why I started. I wanted to put Ghana and the continent on the map for something positive, right? I wanted to show the whole world that this shea butter we have here is pure gold. It's amazing, right? Um, I also wanted to make sure Ghanaian products Ghana made products by Ghanaians are on globally competitive shelves. So every time I think about, my gosh, I'm going to quit, this is too hard. I'm so done with FDA, I'm so done with GRA. I'm like, wait, have we, um, is our goal complete? Like, have we accomplished our goal, right? I may have somewhat completed it, but we're not there yet, right? So the goal, my why also keeps me grounded. But as an entrepreneur, you will go through those moments. Honestly, you go through those moments. I was on a plane once and I fired people from the plane because I was just sick and tired of being sick and tired. It just happens. But you have to know your why and you have to know why you're doing what you're doing. Honestly, for me, the customers. I don't think I can sit face to face with my customers and be like, you know what? I closed down the business because I'm just sick and tired. Like I when customers sit and talk, when they send feedback, when they send emails, it's such a moment for me, you know? It's such a moment that I'm just like, wow, our products are changing lives. Like, how can I stop changing lives? I've had people send emails and send WhatsApps, voicemails that are like, listen, I got my husband through your shea butter. And I'm like, okay. Anyway, but here we go.
That's so wild.
We have stories, but
Yeah.
yeah.
I don't know if you mentioned it, but Kaime got featured on CNN, yes?
We did 3 times.
Oh, guys,
I know.
tell us about that.
Wow. Yeah, we gosh, it doesn't get old. We did get featured 3 times, and just like being from the village, I actually don't know anyone at CNN, or I didn't know anyone at the time. And we got featured because this was during COVID, and as you know, all businesses were closing. I mean, things were bad, horrible. And we did close down. However, we kept our staff. We're paying our staff. Essentially, we're paying our staff till we ran out of revenue, which was kind of crazy. Your mentor will tell you don't do that, or your coach, your business coach. But personally, for me, yes, it's a business, but it's also kind of like a family that I keep accountable, by the way. The accountability part is important. If you're a family, you better be helping grow that business, not screwing it up. So when you come to work, you better work. And if you don't work, you're fired. But we try to be close, you know. If we get extra profit, we share. Um, so during COVID, when you know businesses were closing, we closed as well, just like everybody else. But one of the decisions I made was to keep my employees. They're home, they're not working because nobody can go out, you know. But we'll still keep paying them their monthly salary until we had no money left in our bank account. And funny enough, somehow, some way, somehow, CNN caught up to this, and it just went viral in the CNN community. So initially, they just did an article on us, did the article, another editor read it, and then they went crazy. Then they wanted to do a live. Then they did a live, and then after, they wanted to do a whole show about us. But it also tells you that, you know, for me anyway, and what has worked for me, yes, you're running a business for money, right? Because you do need that money for the business to survive. You need to pay people. You need to pay GRA. If you're in Ghana, they'll come after you. Um, but it's the human aspect for me. Every month, my biggest challenge is like, my gosh, I have this many people, they're all relying on me, and they have families that rely on them. And whatever I need to do to make sure this business has money, to pay them, I have to do anything legal, by the way. We don't do illegal things. So that's, for me, the people aspect is more important to me. And maybe it's also my development background. Impact is such a big thing to me. Like everything, I have to see impact every day in the people I deal with, in my employees. In talking to you guys, I need to know that what I'm talking about is actually useful to you tomorrow when you wake up, right? So I need to see immediate impact. So every decision I make, I'm very intentional about that. So that's what I was doing during COVID, when I didn't have money, when the company didn't have money, but we still kind of were paying people. And that's what got us the CNN feature 3 times in a row. Yeah.
So basically, you were just being yourself.
Essentially, yeah. And when you're being yourself, it's quite easy, actually. Um, one of the one of the talents I hired at my work, their job is to actually keep me in check. Because if not, you come to the store, I just give out free product. I just keep giving free products because people love it. So, like Frida, nope, they have to buy it, or you have to give up to a certain point. But that's me. That's me at my core. I'm very development. I need to see people doing well. I need to see people happy. I need to see people live their full potential. So just combining that with business for me works, but also having someone who can counter me and tell me, nope, You can give 50%, not 100%. So, yeah.
Awesome. My final question before I open the floor um, for our students to ask you questions. You've been doing this for 30 years. You've refined your processes, you've documented your journey, you've done this over and over and over. How would you describe a successful execution journey? Like from when you have, just briefly, what would you say success looks like from idea to execution? And in answering that, what advice would you give our students who have ideas, but it's just sitting in their head? They haven't started anything yet.
For me, right now, where I am right now, success means iterations. Um, one of the things I said earlier on is just do it. Honestly, it would never be perfect. Our best selling product, let me tell you how our current best selling product actually came to being. I think we were 2 years into the business, and normally I create limited edition product. So I was at the beginning of the fourth quarter, I was creating limited edition product, and I had a certain scent profile in mind for base, medium, top scent, top note, whatnot. And I kept mixing, 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 and I never got it. But then we were scheduled to go to a festival where I had already announced that we're gonna have limited edition. People were looking forward to it. So even though I didn't get a scent profile that I wanted, I had promised people that I was gonna sell limited edition products. So I ended up selling it. Guess what? That's how we got our limited edition scents. That's what we now have as eternal. Listen, I've been to Asia, I've been to South America, different countries in Africa, and wherever you go, this product does not fail. But that was a mistake. Remember, that was a mistake, because if I was waiting for that perfect scent profile that I actually wanted, maybe we wouldn't even be here today at all. So stop where you are. Stop with what you have. Don't wait for that perfect moment. There's no such thing as a perfect moment. Listen, well, during my introduction, one of the things I was gonna say is we're still grinding. We're still grinding. We're over a decade old. We're still grinding. You just keep learning. My background is development and monitoring and evaluation. I do a lot of monitoring and evaluation. And for me, what that means is you create a product or you create a system, you keep using it, you keep looking at what's working, what's not working. You're listening to customer feedback and you're recreating it to make it a better version of itself. But just do it. Just start. Start where you are right now. Don't wait for tomorrow. You really don't need to wait for tomorrow. And you will never be perfect. I'm not perfect. I'm still creating products that are not perfect. But customers are buying it, they're using it, and they're giving me feedback. And that's what's going to be my next best product. So, yeah.
Awesome. Can we give a round of applause, please? Okay. I'm sure we have questions. Yes or no? All right. So, who's good? Okay.
Hi, Frida.
Hi.
Thank you again for coming. Thank you for everything you've shared. My question is somewhat double barreled, but it centers on value. Okay, so firstly, how do you value your product? Because ultimately, even though we want to solve a problem, we still want to be able to live off whatever business we're engaged in. So how was your product pricing? How your product valuing? What was the process for you, and how did you come to that, you know, good spot? And secondly, you also talked about the human aspect, and I would like to hear what you have to say about valuing your labor, your time, your artistry. Because earlier you also said that um, after your friend's wedding, you were just asking them to pay for the cost of the product. You hadn't, added all of those things. So how did you value it, and how did it ultimately come to that price that you're now comfortable with?
First and foremost, people buy our product and they're like, what? Is that blood? That thing is so expensive. But when they try and they use it, they're like, my goodness, I will pay 10 times more for this. There are two answers to your pricing question. And the first one is the usual Instagram, Pinterest answer, right? Your labor, cost of production, overheads, which is normally like 30%, and then voila, you have the product. That's that. And that's probably what you will see mostly in the market. And that's okay. Normally, that's okay to be able to pay all your bills and to also pay you. I think the the mistake that a lot of people make is that they see that Akosia is selling their product for 20 CDs. And me too, I'm going to make the same product. So you know what? Let me sell it for 18 CDs so that people will come and buy mine and not buy Akosia. The problem is you don't know how Akosia did their budgeting. Maybe their father is very rich, so they don't even include the cost of the ingredients. Their father has a mansion, so they're not even renting the warehouse where they're producing, or that they're not including that in their pricing. So for me, that's why it's important to make your own calculations. Again, systems. So systems is not like this big thing. Systems also include having even a notebook where you say, you know what, if shea butter is what you're selling in this case, okay, what am I putting in the shea butter? Am I putting mango oil? How much of that mango oil? And you know, what's the size of the container I'm putting it in? So you do a whole recipe for it, and then you do a batch, and then you do the calculation based on what you put in. So simple one, you put coconut oil, you put shea butter, and maybe you put um, lavender oil, right? Each of them is 20 CDs. So that's 60 CDs, right? Let's say your daily rate is like 20 CDs, right? That's 80 CDs, right? Now you buy the container for 20 CDs, that's 100 CDs. Now production cost alone is what, 100 CDs, right? Now, are you paying electricity? Are you renting a place? Like what are other costs that account to make sure this product comes to fruition? Let's say everything you spend on actually producing this 100 ml shea butter is 150 Ghana cedis, including your own labor, right? Now, that's your production cost. You haven't added other overheads, right? Maybe you had other people. You have Kofi and Amma helping you fetch water to clean the thing. Maybe you bought some Alata Semna to also clean. You have to include all of that. Then include your overhead. Overhead for me is like all the other things that sometimes you don't even think about, but that ensures that this product comes to fruition. So maybe you've accounted for electricity, but we know we're in Ghana and there's doomsaw, so you have to get a generator, right? So you account for generator costs already in the product, even though you haven't experienced doomsaw yet, right? Now, you're able to sell 20 of these products at this price that you calculated based on real prices, right? If you do this and if you account for this well in your pricing, at the end of the day, when products are bought, you'll be able to pay yourself and pay for all the other ingredients or inputs that makes the product. So that's probably the simplest, most basic way, which wasn't simple because it was quite long. But there's a very simple way. I can send it to you on WhatsApp, a very simple way to do it. Now, for Kaeme, I say we're peculiar because, again, when I create a product, I still go back and I'm like, does this fit most of the things I wanted it? So is it quality enough to be on global standards, right? That means that I can't just be using any essential oils, right? And as much as I love using local products, and by the way, I do my absolute best, 2000% best to source everything I can from here. But sometimes it's difficult because I'm I'm on globally competitive shelves. That means people who are buying my products care what they put on their skin, right? So they care about the version of shea butter that you're using to make the product, right? Is it grade A, grade B, grade C? If it's a yes, can you provide documentation for that, right? Same for my oils. So I need to source from someone who is able to, for instance, provide what we call SDS data, technical data sheet for the oil or shea butter they're producing for me. This means that the oil, essential oil, career oil, whatever they're selling to me is going to be a little bit more expensive because they have to have all these systems in place. But I, as Kaeme, will go for that as opposed to buying from someone who doesn't have it. But typical Freda will still buy the expensive one because I have all the documentation and I want to be able to show the customer that this is your technical data and, organic certification, whatever it is that you're looking for. At the same time, I go back to that guy in Eastern region that's also providing, producing lavender that doesn't have the technical data. And I'm like, hey, do you have, you know, do you have ways to get a technical data sheet for your product? They probably say no. If I can support them to get a technical data sheet or an SDS data sheet, I will do that so I can buy from them. But that's only after I've been able to sort myself. I know that I have a pipeline. I know where to source my products. I'm making my customers happy because I have products in stock. Then I'm going to be able to help someone also get to where they need to get to so I can support them by buying from them. So all I'm trying to say is our products, the price of our products are the way it is because of certain products that we source. Even the kind of people we hire. You come to work and, when I'm hiring, I include a lot of my colleagues. And one of the first questions they ask is like, do you have luxury eyes? And everybody starts laughing because we don't even look at resumes when we're hiring you. Do you fit in the Kaeme culture? Is there a cultural fit? Because if it's not, no. But a cultural fit for me is an intangible thing that we price on because when you walk into that showroom, the way someone smiles at you, the way they treat you, you need a certain kind of person to do that. And sometimes you just need to hire someone with a higher salary. And Kaeme needs to be able to pay that person. So that part of that also goes into the price of the product. Do you see how the whole cycle works? It's a bit complicated, but don't make it complicated yet. For now, let's just do your production cost, which is what are the cost of the inputs that are making the products that you're trying to sell. Add a little bit for yourself because you need to go on that date and you need to eat that tilapia. Let's get a few products out. Let's get feedback and then let's make it better. And then we can go from there. Did I answer all the questions? I think there's one more. Ah, okay. So I have a very interesting background. So I work corporate before coming into the entrepreneur life. So as much as I was giving products free at the time, I was working at the time. I was sorted. My bills were not a problem. So I was giving out products at the time for free was not a big deal. Once I actually set Kaeme up as a business, my time, I have a daily rate that I charge to Kaeme, that Kaeme pays me every month. So that daily rate is a combination of my experience, my leverage, my network, my brain, what I bring, like being able to strategize and create a product. Like all of that comes into my daily rate. 3 years ago, my daily rate was $550 a day. If somebody is hiring me as a consultant to do a project outside of what I do at Kaeme, I charge them per day. So when I started Kaeme as a business, I went in as, okay, this is the daily rate I want to charge, or this is the weekly rate I want to charge. That doesn't mean Kaeme was paying me that every day because Kaeme did not have money. But I had that in mind because when Kaeme gets to a certain point, Kaeme needs to be able to pay me this much, right? So yes, you need to have that value at the beginning as much as you can. It doesn't have to be big. I knew mine was clear because I had worked in corporate and I knew that. But you don't have to know it, but just give a value to yourself. How much time are you spending on, say, creating the product? Are you spending a whole day, like 8 hours, and creating 8 products? Then how much do you want to pay yourself, right? And do that math. But try and give yourself a number that you pay yourself. Again, doesn't mean that the company has to pay you, because sometimes it takes years for the companies to make money. So one fact is that for a few years, Kaeme wasn't making enough money to pay me. But what I did was, in my company audits, every year we did audits. So for instance, if Kaeme was supposed to pay me 200 CDs a month, and every month Kaeme couldn't pay me 200 CDs, but only paid me 50 CDs, that meant that every month for 12 months, Kaeme owed me 150 CDs, right? That 150 CDs times 12, that meant that this past year, Kaeme owed me 150 CDs times 12. And that's money that is in my company audits recorded, that says that Kaeme owes me. When Kaeme makes money, Kaeme will pay me back. But it's no money I got right off the back, right? Am I making sense? Maybe I'm being too technical, but so the company doesn't have to pay you now, but you have to make room for that to happen, because that's also part of creating systems.
Yeah. Thanks so much.
Yeah.
I'm sure we have a few more questions. We'll take.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello,
Your name?
Frida. My name is Kelvin.
Kelvin?
Yeah, I have two questions.
Sure. Listen, I'll be here. I spent 2 days for you guys. So even after, if you couldn't ask your question, I'll be around.
Okay, so they are kind of linked, and it has to do with pricing.
Okay.
So in your line of business where you produce shea butter, it's I don't know. For me, I think it would be difficult to go into that kind of business because in my mind, I know people have like cheaper ways of sourcing their shea butter. So and for me, business is about volume. So you need to be able to sell what you are producing to a large number of people to make enough money to cater for your costs. So how do you find a balance between the pricing? Do you find yourself having to compromise on the quality of your products in order
Never.
to meet a price range? And also for certain products, they tend to focus on particular niche of individuals who see the value in the product. My question to that is, how do you find those people, and how do you place your product in the spaces where those people can find them?
I'm still figuring out the second question, but I'll tell you. So first, you need to have variations, right? Um, whew. First, you need to find your niche. Who are your customers? I think when you start pitching and pitching to judges and whatnot, one of the questions they will ask you in your pitch deck is, who are your customers, right? So first, you need to find your customers, and that process of finding your customers, you will be forced to think through, okay, who are my customers? What price are they willing to buy for the product that I'm making, right? And why would they buy it, right? So we make products that our customers want. We know our customer. We have our customer profiles, our Kaeme customer personas, and we know how much they spend on certain stuff. We know what they're looking for, so we're creating what they're looking for, which means that they're gonna buy. Pricing, pricing money is not so much their pain point. Their pain point is actually find something that's real, that's clean, that's gonna help them. So that's one thing. So you need to first find your customer niche, right? That's one. Now, you have your customer niche, they're buying the product at whatever price you're selling. There are other lower cost versions, but they want yours because of that specific thing that you're providing for them. So the example I always give is like, I see you wearing red lipstick all the time. So I come to you and I'm like, my gosh, what shade of red lipstick do you like to wear that you don't have or that you don't get in Ghana? And you're like, oh, I love ruby red. And I'm like, fabulous. I will create a sample of ruby red for you. I will create it. I will literally work with you through the whole process. I'll make samples. You try it. Do you like it? No, I don't like it. It's too dark. Oh, I like it, but it's too glossy. Where I like it, it's too matte. We work to create a product that you like. When we're done, what are the chances that you will buy? You most likely buy it, right? because I worked with you and we created that product for you. And at that point, pricing is not so much of an issue. So that's one thing. So we have our customers. And then talking about price match, we also have, you talk about bulk and selling in mass. We're a premium company, but we also sell in mass in a way. So one of the things that a lot of people don't know about Kaeme is that we also serve hotels and restaurants. So that's like sort of where our mass production comes from. So if you have a hotel that has 100-room occupancy rate is like 50%, that means that every day they're churning out soap, conditioner, shampoo in 50 rooms. That's if they have 50% occupancy rate, right? If you multiply that per month and per year, that's a lot of money. So you just have to find different segments of the market that you can sell. Now, a lot of these hotels and restaurants are high-end restaurants, right? High-end hotels. They're boutique restaurants and boutique hotels. But it works, right? Am I answering your question? So there's a market. You just have to find it. And sometimes you have to find different variations. Maybe you're selling a T-shirt. Somebody wants a T-shirt with the Kaeme logo on it. Someone wants it without the Kaeme logo. And that's okay. You can find 30 of them to sell to without the Kaeme logo, and then 10 of them to sell to with the Kaeme logo because there's something special about the Kaeme logo that they want, right? So you have to just segment your business. And then just to talk more, you can also create same versions, but maybe smaller, right? So we have sample sizes, we have souvenir sizes, we have big refill sizes. Somebody might not be able to buy the regular 300 ml jars that we have, but they might be able to buy the 50 ml just to say that I have a piece of Kaeme and I too belong into the premium club or whatever it is. So you just have to, I study trends a lot, I study customers a lot, and one of actually the things I truly, truly enjoy is product development and customer interaction, because I enjoy talking to customers to see what they like and then based on that make a product. I hope I answered your question. Is there one more or was that it? Okay.
Okay.
All right.
The next person here.
Who?
Thank you so much. I'm Claire Lam. My question.
A little. I can barely
I'm
hear.
Claire Lam.
Hi, Clena.
My question is, in the instance where you are not exactly planning on setting up a business, say you are producing a product or something, where maybe you yourself, you are the product. To give context, maybe you want to be a thought leader that people pay or something, or yes, a public speaker. So I assume you are paid to speak at events and whatnot. What if that is what you want to capitalize on? How do you position yourself? And with being a public speaker and a thought leader, that's something I want to do on the side. But I'm thinking, should I specialize in the topic, or I should just go and tell them my life story when I've not built anything? And my second question is, how would you advise somebody trying to set up a social enterprise? Thank you.
Sure. Let's go the thought leader way first. Okay, so first and foremost, if you've never done that, no experience, you can volunteer, right? You can volunteer to speak at an event. You can volunteer to say there's a people go to church, people have community events they do, volunteer and be part of it. I'm trying to give a real example. So there's a mentoring 10 years ago, 15 years ago, there was a mentoring event that we used to do. We still do it. I'm just not part of it. You could volunteer as part of a mentoring event or a community outreach event and then ask to kind of own a session of it, even if it's under someone, right? You're owning a session of it, you're facilitating it, or you're ensuring that things are organized properly. Now you're making, what you're doing there is you're creating a network, right? And two, if you're able to own something, even if it's a one-on-one you're having with a student or a person, you're saying that, listen, I've done this before, even if once, even if it's with an amateur, who knows, it doesn't matter. I've done it once. That although you did it as a volunteer, as on a volunteer basis, you didn't get paid, but you can use that experience to get your next maybe volunteer gig, but maybe at a higher event, right? Um, I'm trying to think of an example that's kind of like relatable to what you're doing now, because sometimes you just have to do a lot of volunteering to really get yourself grounded and network with people in that ecosystem, so that next time when they're thinking of, oh my gosh, we need someone to facilitate a session on, I don't know, cosmetology, we're calling Cleanam. Or that, you know what, we need someone who is really, who can talk about natural hair. Oh, let's call Cleanam, because last time doing that volunteer thing, I saw her doing that and she did a fantastic job, right? And you did it for free, but you're getting some sort of return on investment there. You do that one, two, three. Now you can confidently say that, listen, I've done this before. And in this type of social media, you can just post about it and say that I did A, B, C, and D. These are the results. These are the impacts, blah, blah, blah. People see, people read, you're top of mind. When people are thinking of something like that, they call you. But you have to do the groundwork. If there's a leadership institute or like an event planning department at Ashesi, for instance, it's a place you can volunteer, or it's a place you could get a part-time job, right? See how they do things. Try to get a mentor there, right? So these are sort of some of the ways to start. Um, I started mine, well, I didn't mean to start. It kind of just happened because I already had some experience and I started talking about it. And then things started picking up. But these are some of the really easy ways to um, get started. And I will really emphasize on the community aspect of it. Even in school, I believe you guys have clubs and stuff, right? Find an opportunity to speak about a topic that's close to your heart. Your colleagues will know that, oh, Clenam is really good about this. Listen, when it comes to negotiating, Clenam is really good. When it comes to, you guys know about Model UN, or they don't happen anymore? I used to do Model UN. I really sucked at public speaking, but I was so good at giving the speakers the ideas. So they'll always come to me. But that was what I was good for. They knew that when they needed a good idea for our school to win Model UN this year, Freda had to be there, even if I wasn't part of the team that actually went to the Model UN, right? So you want to set yourself up, even among your peers, as the person to go to for this particular thing. And it could be anything. And you know, it could be whatever it is that you're interested in. But start from there. Listen, the people around here, that's your network. Ashesi is your network. Talk to your friends, talk to your colleagues. You know, you go to a restaurant to have dinner, lunch, talk to the owner and convince them about something. Like that's all like avenues to practice that sometimes we don't really look at. Um, Run for a position in school, or you know, talk about. There must be something in school that's on your heart that you really want to be the go-to person for. So start from there, and then start, you know, if you go to church or mosque or community events, find ways to be that influencer there in terms of speaking. So that's that. So, and then you build on it. I think there was a second question. So you want to set up a nonprofit.
Yes,
Why?
something of that sort. Particularly because I've received a lot of investments from other nonprofits.
Okay.
So in one sense, it's basically a personal development agency, just that
Okay.
it's nonprofit,
Okay.
something along those lines.
I mean, first thing that comes, you just have to follow, like go to your, are you Ghanaian?
Yes, please. I'm
Okay,
Ghanaian.
so you just go to the registrar general, just like you set up, and I'm talking about the formal side of things, right? Just go to the registrar general, get the forms, and then fill out the forms, and then set it up. But I think if I'm understanding well, you're talking more about the operation side of it.
Yes. So, um, from what I've read so far, social enterprise is also a form of business,
Mm-hmm.
just that you're not exactly aiming to make money. So, this being speaking from a founder perspective, if you were to run a social enterprise, how would you go about it? How would you consider impact, money, and all of that?
Why don't you want to make money? I'm just
Oh,
asking.
it's
You can do both. Sorry.
I think some of the questions will probably have to take them offline because this seems like a very detailed one.
Yeah, we can talk.
obviously.
So
Yeah.
two very short questions with very short answers that we
Okay.
wrap up and go to our special stuff.
Okay, so hi. My
Hi.
name is Nanama.
Hi, Nana.
And it wasn't short, but I'll just make it short. I wanted to ask, it's kind of personal, but it does play into the entrepreneurship space. So have you always kept your hair this way?
Have I always what?
Always kept your hair this way?
I used to have permed hair till about maybe 14, 15 years ago.
Okay. The reason I ask is because I'm trying to understand how I'm in my final year now. So the whole idea of being presentable in corporate spaces,
Professional.
professional and everything, yeah, it comes up. And to me, hair is a really big thing. And my mother has her qualms about hair because she works about my hair because she works in HR. And I just wanted to ask, how do you keep
Navigate.
yourself like grounded in your authenticity despite the spaces you'd be in as you grow up? Because I mean, for Kaime, the brand, it's your brand and you own it, so you can show up however. But then you also mentioned you work corporate. So yeah, that's a question.
So I actually, wow, you're taking me back down. Okay. Um, I think I cut my hair. I used to have beautiful permed hair. But my hair is quite soft. So when I permed it, it was very light. It had no volume. And I love volume. So I actually cut it. At the time, I was actually in corporate, and I was in Washington, D.C. I was working in kind of politics, and people were like, "You're gonna get fired," because I mean, it was just not okay. Um, anyway, we can talk later, but I think by the time I cut it, and I was at a space where I had worked a few years and I kind of knew what my niche was. I had experience. So as much as people were telling me this will not fly, you're gonna get fired, in my head I'm like, that's fine. If they fire me, I'll find another job. But I knew that's what I wanted to do. Um, and at the time, I knew permed hair as it was for me on my hair did not work for me. I had also just gotten out of grad school, and honestly, I didn't have money for all the extras, right? Um, and at the time, I was like, oh, I could just wash my hair and just go. Of course, that has changed. Now it's more of an identity thing for me. Um, but I think you just have to be more grounded, and I think it's difficult at this stage. You're right. But I also think there are more and more people leaving their hair the way it is. And so the rest of the world, well, the rest of Ghana is hopefully catching up and becoming more diversified. Um, it's a tough one. You just have to stand your ground. I mean, I'm thinking of when I started selling shea butter that my parents were really upset. Sometimes you see something that they don't see, and you have to really work hard to kind of prove them right or wrong, whichever one you see it. But the honors is on you because it's a tough place to be. And even now, I mean, I go to international events and I have an assistant that helps me with international projects, and I go with him. He's an older guy, and we go into the rooms and they welcome him and they give him a seat, and I'm standing there because I'm supposedly his assistant because I look like a hot mess, you know. Um, but it's just like being, I talked about sometimes you have to be the person to kind of create that culture, to set that path, right? And pioneers, sometimes it's just hard because you're the first person to do that. And in this case, you might be the first person in your family to be like, no, I want to keep my head this way because This is how I was born. This is how I feel pretty. This is how I feel confident. So you're going to have to always articulate that and make sure they understand. Um, but also find people around that are similar to you, that support you, that can also help. Because sometimes it can be tough. Yeah.
Hi, Frida.
Hi.
I'm Susie.
Hi, Susie.
I really like your hair.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. So, my question is about system. I thought I knew what building a system mean, but I think in your presentation you mentioned system in like different ways, like documenting or hiring people. I don't know if I got it right, but I am like a bit confused what it means to build a system, and if it's about people, what do you do if you don't yet have money to hire these people?
So when I say systems, I mean almost everything, like the thing that helps your business really run, right? It can be people, it can be technology, it can be training. So let me give you multiple examples, right? I have a CRM that I use to run my business. And that CRM ensures that when there's a lead, we're able to follow up after certain days, after a few hours, after a few months. We know what they bought. We know the kind of stuff they want. Like essentially collect information about the customer to allow us to be able to follow up in a way that we think the customer will be happy with, right? At the same time, I have what I talked about, the Kaeme playbook. Um, and that allows me, my HR, or whoever is supporting me, to be able to hire someone and onboard them, even when I'm not around, because it states everything we do. It states our values, it states how we work the Kaime way, it states what we wear to work, it says how we speak to customers, it talks about how we even, the process of selling a product to a customer. It's almost like the Kaime DNA, right? It's in a written form. It's a live document that we update, right? That's a system in itself, right? There are also systems, like our manufacturing facility. It's a system. In there's certain things, there's certain ways that we arrange things, right? There's a system, a documentation for all of that, so that, God forbid, no more, the company needs to be able to still run, right? We have a general emails where emails comes through. There's a system so that when emails comes through, there the system can filter and say, this email goes to Frida, this email goes to Yao, this email goes to this person. This email, I have no idea who it goes to. It goes to the general manager, right? So there are different kinds of systems. They're just different kinds of systems. And sometimes you just build them as you go, right? Does that help a little bit? Yeah? Okay.
That was our last question. Thank you so much, Frida. Can we give it up for her, please? I believe this has been a very, very insightful session. Do we agree? Absolutely. I love that. Thank you. So thank you so much, Frida. She is, as she said, she's here for us today. She'll be around even after we wrap up. So if you have further questions, you want to engage her, please feel free to reach out to her. And I'm sure she'll be happy to engage. So thank you so much,
You're
Frida.
welcome.
We really, really appreciate your time this evening.
I have one last thing. Yeah. Where's that? Oh, okay. So I we're talking about from idea to implementation, right? And I'm sure a lot of you have ideas that are still sitting in your head. You're afraid to even talk about it. Can I get a few people for the chance to win a Kaime product, which is kind of still on its way from Accra to here? I'm not sure. With all the potholes, we'll see. But a chance to win Kaime product. Can somebody with an idea pitch their idea and tell us how they're going to bring it to fruition?
One person.
Well, I have 10 products. So, but we do one. We'll do one. We'll
Okay.
give the rest to Madame, and then you guys can figure it out how you can sort of convince her.
We have a hand up here.
All right.
So your name and how many seconds are we giving him?
Let's do 30.
Okay, you have 30 seconds. But without the introduction.
Okay.
Yes.
Good evening. Preaching on monogram machine for printing on clothes and attires like African clothing, like bespoke clothing. I've noticed as a student here that most people, like I'm a Nigerian, so I noticed that most people they like that and they ask you, where did you get this? Where did you get that? But most times I go to town, I don't find it, and even the ones I see, they are mostly from Lagos and deep Accra, like high end. So I want to bring it to the level of where students can actually patronize and enjoy.
Okay. So yeah or no?
Yeah or no?
You guys have voted. Okay, it's a yes. Oh, wow, guys, wow, you're tough judges. Okay, over to you. There was one
What
more
did they
question.
vote? Yes or no? Oh,
Why,
it's
you
it's
guys, your
not
yes
it's
is
not
not
given
good. Your
yay.
game is not.
It's given mid. We're not impressed. Should we take one more?
Sure.
A lady. Okay. So 30 seconds. You can do this. We believe in you. All the women are backing you.
Okay, so I'm planning what in the future I want to build luxurious trains that are sourced from Ghana. The materials are sourced from Ghana. We work with engineers, qualified engineers from KNUST universities to actually set on like build those trains to fit the socio-economic landscape of Ghana and maybe Africa as a whole. Yes.
Hey, you guys, are you hungry? Is it a yes or no?
You guys are tough judges. What's happening? If it's a yes, be confident. If it's no, don't be shy. Yes or no?
Okay, this has more with
Okay. Okay, let's give it up for her, please.
There was one here. You wanted to do one too? Okay.
30 seconds, please. Not more. Yes.
Um, okay, so for me, I would first, from your inspiration, I'd first hire a brand strategist because I already have a product. It's going into the market soon. We are waiting for FDA approval. Yeah, so I would hire a brand strategist to help me get into the market and penetrate the market, and probably like partner with a lot of institutions who are around my domain so that at least I can gain visibility at the beginning. Yeah.
I'm sorry, what did she pitch?
She already has a product.
What was the product? No, your 30 seconds are up. So yes or no? I didn't hear product. Yes? Yeah. What kind of judges are you guys? Yes or no? There was no product pitched. There was a strategy or a plan, but I don't know what the product was. Sorry. We'll take one more person, a guy. Gender balance, guys. It goes both ways. Yeah, he's the one I'm coming to. Last one, and then we have something for you.
So I'm Johnson, and before coming to Ashese, I volunteered as a teacher at Mringa Secondary School. Students face mental health challenges. Then I wrote a book that helps students navigate challenges through school. So my product is a book that has been to 2 schools already in Tanzania and more than 5 countries across my friends in Ashes. Thank you.
Yes? No? This is the first confidence. Yes, we've heard. He gets two prizes. Okay, thank you so much, Frida. Thank you, guys. This has been really, really amazing. And please give it up for Frida, guys, please.